Hey everybody, welcome to Fiber at 4. Sorry, I'm still getting hooked up here. There we go. Hi, this is Christiana coming to you live from the Longmont yarn shop, and today we are talking about our favorite Ravelry patterns, and by our, I mean shop staff, customers, community, just our favorite Ravelry patterns that we've downloaded over the past year. So I wanted to start out with a really new sample, so I'm not going to say it's one of our favorite patterns just yet, but I'm sure it will be shortly. Hey Mom! So this sample was made for us by Mary, and this is called Pure Joy, and it is designed by Hitafude. And as the name of our Fiber at 4 today suggests, all of these patterns are available on Ravelry. And all of the samples that we have in shop have been uploaded to the Longmont Yarn Shop Ravelry site. So if you want to take a look at any of the photos, they are there for you to view. And of course, all these samples are available in the shop for you to take a look at. So Pure Joy by Hitafude. This thing is so cool. It is really, really long. It's not very deep, but I'm going to say it's about 8 feet long, maybe a little bit longer. And it's 2 colors of fingering weight yarn. So for this, we used a nice grayish blue and a charcoal gray. And this sample, we used the wool mice. It actually only took 2 hanks of the wool mice, 1 of each color. And the colors we used are called Enya, which is the grayish blue, and PB. So PB, of course, for those of you who know your periodic table of elements, is lead, which is this really nice dark charcoal gray. So those are the 2 colors we used for this shawl. The wool mice is relatively new to our shop. The the brand is called wool mice, but the yarn itself is called Twin. And this is a fingering weight yarn. It is an 80% wool, 20% polyamide blend, and it is superwash. And the label says that there are 340 yards in here, but we are willing to bet that there's probably closer to 500 yards in here. So I would plan your project accordingly, just in case. So these are $37.99 per skein. So of course we use the Enya and the PB for our Pure Joy shawl. And sorry I can't get it all on camera in one shot. It is super, super long. But I love the lace work in here. It's garter stitch and the lace is done in the contrasting color. And Mary did such a fantastic job on this. I have to brag on her behalf because she did a really, really good job. So that pattern is on Ravelry. And if you're not a blue and black person, I thought this color combination was pretty cool. So this is Cassis, which is a burgundy-ish, probably kind of purple burgundy, and Guinevere, which is a tonal brown. You can see a little bit of color differentiation in there. And I thought those 2 looked really, really lovely together. Of course, the blue and the Guinevere look pretty good together too. So just a couple choices there. The wool mice is really, really soft, and Mary said it was wonderful to work with. And I know it's one of Hannah's favorites, right, Hannah? What? You like the wool mice? Love the wool mice. Hannah loves the wool mice. It's great. So that is the Pure Joy shawl by Hitafude. I don't think I didn't write the price down on here, the pattern price. Oh, hey, Lynn. So this just takes 1 skein per color for 2 colors, and Mary used a size 6 needle to obtain gauge on there. Alrighty. So this is an oldie but a goodie, and this is one of our absolute favorites. Hi, Gloria. This is the Your Slip is Showing shawl by Casapinka. If you all have never made a Casapinka pattern, I highly, highly recommend checking her out. Her patterns are so fun, so well written, and just, she's a blast too. I love how she includes Sharon from security, her kitty cat, and everything. She's got several cats now. She's got a head of IT, a head of security, I think there's another one in there. Somebody jump in if I'm wrong. I know there's Sharon, and Sharon has a brother, and then there's another cat in there, but anyway, I digress. Casapinka is actually a former emergency room doctor, and she turned to knitting just to kind of relieve the stress, and then this has kind of taken over her life, designing patterns, because she does such a great job and she enjoys it so very, very much. So this is the Your Slip is Showing pattern, and this shawl is also a really, really long shawl. I'd venture to guess this one's probably closer to 10 feet across and probably about 3 feet deep at its biggest point. This is kind of an offset triangle, and this was made by my mom out of one of the Theodora's Pearls Oxynometer 6 skein kits. We do have notes if you want to make a shawl like this one out of the 6 skein kit. We do have notes on our Ravelry site of how the pattern was made with the 6 skein kits, because there's a slight difference in the yardage there. But those are available on Ravelry. And let's see here. So Mom used a size 3 and 4 needle to obtain gauge. I'm assuming, and Mom correct me if I'm wrong, that the smaller needle was used for the garter stitch and the larger needle was used for the actual slip stitch pattern. I have done several of her shawls. I know, Lynn, I've done 2 of her shawls in the glamping blanket, and her patterns are so much fun. I cannot recommend them enough. So this was made out of the Briley colorway of the 6 skein kit, which we don't have in stock right now. Yep, okay. So Mom was just confirming that, yes, the smaller needle was used for the garter stitch edge, and the larger needle was used for the slip stitch pattern. So anyway, the Briley colorway that this one was made of is currently out of stock, but Teresa, your colorway is very, very similar to the Briley colorway. It just doesn't have the orange in it. So you'd get a similar effect with the Teresa kit if you like your pinks and purples. So the 6 skein Oxynometer kit has 200 yards per skein. It's a total of 1,200 yards, and the skeins are 50 grams each. Oxynometer is 100% bamboo. It's a great drape, kind of shiny, looks a little bit like silk when it's all worked up. Fantastic for summertime projects. Plus, bamboo is really, really good for the environment because it's a sustainable resource. So we love our bamboo around here. Plus, the bamboo yarn takes the dye very, very well. So these colors are incredibly saturated. So the kits are $105 each. The pattern, I don't know the price off the top of my head, but I want to say it's probably about $6. So this is the Teresa colorway. Our next favorite pattern, I'm going to step aside here and see if you guys can see that. This is the boho shrug. Eileen, hi Eileen, made this one for us, also out of the 6 skein kit of the Oxynometer. And this is a one size fits all, but it's very size inclusive pattern. This shrug is designed so that it looks really, really nice on any body type, and the bamboo makes it incredibly drapey. So for this, Eileen also used a 6 skein kit. We do have notes about how Eileen used the 6 skein kit for this particular design on our Ravelry site, because normally we use a 3 skein kit for this guy, and I'll show you guys that in a second. But Eileen made this from the Gales Aqua set of the Oxynometer 6 skein set. So again, $105 for those guys, and it's 1,200 yards. And I'll just... I didn't know that. You didn't know what?
I didn't know she used the 6 skein.
Yep, Eileen used the 6 skein kit for this guy. And it's a really fun pattern. I haven't had an opportunity to make it yet, but it's basically a nice big rectangle, and then you fold it over and sew it at the shoulder seams. So this guy, I would probably pull it just a little more closed. I'm not doing it right now because of the microphone, but it's very flattering, and I love the very saturated colors of the Gales Aqua. Oh yeah, absolutely. Teresa was just saying that you could use a shawl pin, or, you know, a hair clip would work too if you have a really pretty hair clip that you like. But again, the bamboo breathes very, very nicely. This is a great summertime yarn. And Jennifer Miller from Theodore's Pearls will also say bamboo is great year round, because if you do layer it, it can keep you nice and toasty. So that is the boho shrug, also made out of the 6 skein kits. So for both the slip is showing and the boho shrug, our notes are on Ravelry to tell you how to utilize those 6 skein kits. So we also have the boho shrug. This is available in a 3 skein kit. So these are 3 full skeins of oxynometer, not the mini guys. So let me find the top here. This is made from the 3 skein kit. I accidentally turned it inside out. Oops. So you can kind of see the color difference in there. So here's the 6 skein kit versus the 3 skeins. The pattern itself was designed specifically for the 3 full skeins of oxynometer. It's the 6 skein kit that we had to doctor a little bit to get to use those smaller skeins. But again, super, super simple pattern. It's just a rectangle that you fold over and sew at the shoulder seams. So this particular colorway, this guy, is called Sedona. And even though the pattern is available on Ravelry, if you buy the 3 skein kit, it actually comes with the book that has the pattern in it. And there's actually 2 projects in here that you can use the 3 skeins for. The boho shrug, and there is also another shawl in there that uses the 3 skeins. So this is $124.99 for the 3 full skeins of oxynometer, which is about 400 yards each, and the bamboo book. So Sedona is the colorway that I showed you. I also brought over this colorway. It's called Coin of the Realm, which is blues and a nice white. The reason I brought this over is because Gail made a sample out of this that's hanging in the shop currently. So you'll see this sample on Ravelry as well. And I really like those blues. And Jennifer's Theodore's Pearls is really known for these little splotches of color throughout this skein. So that is the boho shrug. Next, this is another shop favorite. We've gotten a lot of compliments on this. This is called the Way from Brighton, and it is another Hohi Yakatelli pattern. Again, if you haven't used a Hohi pattern, I highly, highly recommend taking a look at them. She also designed the Odyssey shawl, which we do have a sample of that hanging in the shop right now. She's designed many, many sweaters, so it's not just shawls. She's done a lot of everything. Oh, thanks, Kathy. So the Way from Brighton is great if you love baubles. I actually made this sample and I love the shawl, and I'm just not crazy about knitted baubles. That is just me. But if you like knitted baubles, I'd say go for it on this guy. I do like the way they turned out though. So this is actually a super cool shawl. What you do is you start at the bottom, make that long line of baubles, and then you pick up the stitches across that, and then you work your way this way, and then at the end of every, I want to say 6 or 7 rows, I forget, it's been a while since I've made this, you do another bauble, or she calls them tassels. So that's how the tassels keep going up both sides. And it is stockinette stitch with just a row of garter in there, creating this cool ridge. And I love the size of this shawl. This would be a great summertime shawl for those of us here in Colorado, because sometimes, not all the time, it does get a little chilly here at night. The reason I say not all the time is we are reaching triple digits yesterday and today, so it doesn't cool off very well at night right now. But this is a great one for just covering your shoulders, and in the wintertime you can kind of fold it up and turn it, oops, sorry, covered the mic there, turn it into a scarf. So what I used for this sample is the Dream in Color Cosette, and this is even the same color I used. It's called Naked Shame. I think the name's great, but the reason we chose this color is because we didn't have anything this color hanging on the wall. The name was just a bonus. But this is $37.99 per hank. DK weight, this is a DK weight project. You could use any weight you want for it. You would just need to do a gauge swatch, neither up or down your needle size, depending on what size yarn you're using. But we use DK weight. And Cosette is 70% superwash merino, 20% cashmere, and 10% nylon. There are 270 yards in this skein, and I used a little less than 2 skeins on this shawl. This is definitely one of those where you could certainly keep going and make it bigger if you want. So that is Cosette, and oops, I forgot to mention what size needles I used. So this took a size 7 knitting needle, and for the size that Hohi has in her pattern, it took a little less than 2 hanks of the Dream in Color. I also,
Squishy stuff.
it's very squishy. This is great yarn. I have more of it at home to make something when I figure out what I want to make. I think it would also look wonderful out of one of Dream in Color's variegateds. This is one of my favorites. This is called Mermaid Shoes. I don't even have to look at the tag. I know the name of this guy. But this is a great combination of greens, purples, blues, aquas, and I really think that this would look great out of it too. And same weight, same yardage, same color, or same, not same color obviously, but I love this color. So for the Way from Brighton shawl, it would take a little less than 2 hanks of the Dream in Color, which again is DK weight, $37.99 for 270 yards, and is superwash merino, cashmere, and a nylon blend. Also too, I think that this particular shawl would look great also out of the Erin Moore Light. This is another DK weight. This is by the Fiber Company, and it is a lovely tweed. It is made in Ireland, so it is a true Donegal tweed. It's $24.99 for 328 yards. So this is 270. So the Way from Brighton would probably still take about 2, probably 1.5. Hey, Nancy. So it would take about 2 of these to also do the shawl, the Way from Brighton shawl. And this has an amazing fiber blend to it. It is 80% wool, 10% silk, 10% cashmere. And of course I pulled the purple. This is Concord. And you can really see, if I can get the light on there right, the tweediness to it. It's a very subtle tweed, so it's not like some of the tweeds where the tweeds are incredibly bright. The tweeds in here are kind of along the same tone as the main color. So there's some blues and greens in here, but they're very subtle blues and greens. I think Way from Brighton would also look amazing out of this color, which is called Conejo Bay. And actually, I think these two would make a lovely shawl together if you find something that takes more than one color. But this is a nice teal, and the little tweedies in it are mostly blue. So again, they're kind of on the same tone, so it's not really, really bright tweeds in there. So again, that is $24.99. Again, it's a DK weight, and there are 328 yards in the Erin Moore Light hanks. And I'm going to put this guy away because the Cosette is so wonderful. I just want to stand here and keep squishing it. So I'm going to put that back. Alrighty. So next we have, what did I do with it? The lava shawl. Here we go. For you crocheters out there, this is the lava shawl. Again, it's kind of a smaller one, but this is one that you can certainly make larger with more yarn. This particular sample is made out of 2 different colors of Rios. It took 2 of the main color and 1 of the contrast color. And this is a super fun pattern. This is actually crocheted in the back loop only, which is what creates that ribbed look there. And then right here, you make a series of chain loops, and then you braid them together and then crochet into them to lock them in place. It's not as hard as it sounds. It's actually really, really easy, and I love the braided effect on there, especially with two such contrasting colors in there. So this again is crocheted, and I used a size J hook. And again, you could totally make this bigger. Because it is crocheted rib, it is very thick and very warm. So this is definitely not a summertime shawl. This is probably more of a fall type shawl. It's a really, really fun crochet. So we do have kits available of those. They are $46, and I just pulled one tonight, but we've got a couple more hanging on the wall. This is Anniversario and Fuchsia. So we chose fuchsia as the contrast color, which would be this panel right here. And then the Anniversario, which is the variegated, as the main panel in there. So the kit is $46. It comes with the yarn and the Ravelry download of the pattern. Or if you want something a little, I don't want to say calmer, but maybe more sedate than the Rios, we just got this wonderful yarn in from Mountain Meadow Wool. They are based in Wyoming, Buffalo, Wyoming to be exact. And we carried their yarn a while ago, and we decided to bring it back because we missed it a lot. So Laramie is a worsted weight yarn. This is not superwash. Do not put this in the washer. This will felt. But it is very, very soft, and I love the 2-ply twist to it. It's got a really, really neat texture. So this is $22.99 for about 200 yards. It's 3.5 ounces. So I pulled tonight the cream and also the spruce. I think the cream and spruce would look great in the lava shawl.
What's that other color there?
What's that other color, Teresa asked? I pulled purple. Actually, this color is called Pansy, and I think that would also look fantastic with the cream. I just love those color contrasts between the cream and the more jewel tones. So the lava shawl took 3 skeins of Malabrigo. I would say this has a little less yardage in it than the Rios, so you would probably, just to err on the side of caution, get 3 of the main color. You could probably still get away with 1 of the contrast color, but honestly, I always err on the side of caution and buy more yarn just in case. And I always find uses for it if I have any left over. So that is the lava shawl, and this is Laramie by Mountain Meadow Wool. Again, worsted weight. It's 2-ply. It's really, really neat stuff. Don't put it in the washer. This will felt. And it's $22.99 for 200 yards. Alrighty. The next project, next Ravelry favorite, another oldie but goodie, and we have to mention it because I think we've all made this one, right? Or at least most of us have made it? Most of us have made it. Well, Teresa, you need to make it.
I know.
I'm going to tell Donnie on you.
Yes.
So this is the front range shawl designed by our own Donnie Harrington. This was designed, I want to say, for the 5-year anniversary.
That sounds about right.
Okay. But we reissued it a couple years ago with the 7-year anniversary. 6-year anniversary colors. It was before I started working here, so I'm trying to think. But this only takes 2 skeins of the oxynometer. Again, that's fingering weight 100% bamboo. And the different sections are meant to represent different parts of the front range. So we've got the mountain range, the rivers, and the plains all represented in here. And it's semicircle, but it's not, it's kind of offset a little bit. It is a really cool shape. It lays really, really nicely, and I'm going to try not to cover up the microphone again. But the bamboo breathes so beautifully. Oh, I love the contrast of those 2 colors. That is so beautiful. So this only takes 2 skeins of the oxynometer. It is super, super fun. There are short rows in here, so if you've never done short rows, I would recommend probably checking it out on YouTube or making a private lesson to learn short rows. So this guy used a size 4 knitting needle, And it is, again, the front range shawl. If you look up wool stash on Ravelry, you will find all of Donnie's patterns. And I pulled some color selections going off camera here for the front range shawl. So this is Briley's colorway. Briley, who used to work here, made her front range shawl out of these two colors. So this is Egyptian stucco and rust. And the Egyptian stucco does have those rusty colors in there, so those two complement each other very, very well. And I personally wouldn't wear these colors just because I don't think the rust looks good with my skin tone, but Briley looks amazing in these colors. So the full skeins are $34, and they, again, are about 400 yards. So that is one color choice. And I've got one color choice very similar to this guy. It's not exactly the same because the silver here was a limited edition color, but we've got a color called O'Keeffe's Black Iris that is very, very similar. It's gray with the speckles kind of pink and purple in there. It's just a much lighter gray than this guy. And then you compare that with the Raspberry Beret, which is very, very similar. And I think that actually might be Raspberry Beret in this shawl. Or Christiana color, you could pair it with the violet. The color speckles in here do have some purple and magenta in there, so you could honestly not go wrong with either of those. Actually, these would make a neat looking boho shrug. That would be pretty. So again, fingering weight, 100% bamboo. Hand wash when needed. You definitely do not want to be putting these in the washing machine, especially not in the dryer. Lay it flat to dry. I'm not speaking from personal experience. I honestly don't want to know what happens if you put this in the dryer. So these again are $34 each, and they are 400 yards. And for the front range shawl, it would take just 2 hanks. And again, the designer's Donnie Harrington, or if you look up Wool Stash, which is WOOLSTACHE, right? It's a combination of wool and mustache. So look that up on Ravelry and you'll find this pattern and all of Donnie's patterns. I recommend checking them out. He is a true, I wouldn't call him a designer, I would call him a yarn artist. I think would be a better description of Donnie, but just my opinion. All right. So my next favorite Ravelry pattern that we have here at the shop is the Perky Little Hat. Now, Perky Little Hat has 2 different versions. It has version 1, which is a solid color, and a version 2, which has kind of a candy cane stripe in the ribbing down here that uses 2 colors. Honestly, I would go ahead and, if you're looking at it, buy the version 2 because you could utilize it with both 1 color or 2 colors. I made the version with 2 colors, and it is a really, really fun, really, really fast knit. This actually only takes 1 skein of Malabrigo Rasta and a size 15 knitting needle. So we're talking super big yarn, super big needles. And we actually just restocked on Rasta. So I have pulled 2 colors tonight. This is Cherry Vanilla, and it's actually in the Rasta Pintata collection, which is a more true variegated. It has the creamy white base with speckles of color on it, so I guess it's not really variegated, it's more speckled. And it is really, really fun to work with. It's the same yardage as the regular Rasta, which is 90 yards. This is not superwash, so do not put this in the washing machine, it will felt. But we got a couple colors of the Pintata, and I just love this because it's called Cherry Vanilla. I love cherries, I love vanilla, and I love purple, and they're all there. I also pulled a hank of Anniversario, and I was actually really surprised when this came in because Anniversario is typically a little bit more red. This particular dye batch has a lot more of the cold colors to it. It's got a little bit of that magenta and red in there, but there's a lot of purples and blues and greens in here. In fact, I was here on Friday helping Michelle get set up for her trunk show. I saw this on the table. I'm like, what color is that? I don't remember ordering that. Well, it turns out it is Anniversario, just a little bit more on the cold color side.
Well, sometimes it can have more yellow in it also.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys heard Teresa, but sometimes it could have more yellow in it too. It differs from dye batch to dye batch. So if you ever make a project out of any Malabrigo, try to buy it all at the same time. And they also recommend when you're changing skeins to alternate before you fully change. So by alternate, I mean knit 2 rows with the old color, knit 2 rows with the new color, and so on. So you have a more seamless transition, because it is a kettle dye. So there's going to be slight variations to it, which I think is what makes it so cool.
Yes.
All right, so that's the Anniversaria color. That's the Rasta. And Rasta Pintada, this is the Cherry Vanilla, both 90 yards, both super bulky yarn. They're $25 and per skein, and they use size 13 to 15 needles or 9 to 10 millimeter crochet hooks. So great for super fast knit and crochet projects like the perky little hat. Okay, this is one I'm really excited about. I love this sweater, and for all of you knitters out there, if you have not made this sweater, you really need to try it. This is a fun project. This is the Hitafude cardigan by Hiroko Fukatsu, and I apologize if I'm saying that wrong. This is one of the funnest lace knits I have ever made in my life. In fact, I'm going to be making it again one of these days when I get a few more things crossed off my to-do list. This is a fingering weight cardigan, and it is an easy to learn lace pattern. What makes this so much fun is there is no seaming in this sweater. None. You don't sew a seam at all. What you do is you start out with the sleeves and the top, and you knit kind of a tube, and then you do, well, it's knit flat, and then you do a 3 needle bind off for one sleeve, and then you knit across, and then you do a 3 needle bind off for the other sleeve, and then you knit the skirt. So no sewing, no seaming, just a simple 3 needle bind off. And I have to brag again, my mom made this sample. This is such a fun sweater. Love the cardigan. This is made out of greenwood. Nice segue, Teresa. So this is made out of the Yakety Yak. Oh, and let me see here. This took size 4 needles, and this is a size medium, and it took 3 hanks of the Yakety Yak. So this is the semi-solid. I think Mom used the tonal because they're a little different. But she used the color denim on this, and this is the denim semi-solid. It is $37.99 per hank, and it is 60% superwash merino, 20% yak, and 20% silk. And it is 400 yards. It does say that it's a superwash merino wool, but honestly, I wouldn't put this in the washing machine because of the other fiber in it. I would prefer to hand wash this. Oh yeah, Patty, I love this sweater. In fact, this designer has several sweaters on Ravelry, and they're all absolutely amazing, absolutely wonderfully designed. And I will put her name into the chat column when we're done here so you guys can find her. Her patterns are so cool, and what's really fun is Mom did a knit along of this a few years ago, pre-COVID, and a friend of the designer's just happened to be in the shop that day, and she came back and told us about the lady who designed this, and she said that she's actually an office worker in Japan. And I'm sitting there thinking, this woman should be designing for a living because this is such a cool project. So I can't recommend her stuff enough. So Hohi, Casapinka, and Hiroko, check all their stuff out. So this is the size medium, and it took 3 hanks of the Yakety Yak. This is in fingering weight. So I think it would look great out of the violet too.
Beautiful.
It would be beautiful out of the violet. So I just pulled these two tonight. They are the semi-solid, so the dye in them is going to be a little more not concentrated. There's going to be not as much variation to it in the semi-solid, but if you go with the tonal or the variegated, that's when you're going to see the differentiation in the colors. So the semi-solid is a bit more on the solid side. There is going to be just a tiny bit of variation. Love the violet. Thank you, Patty. So I just pulled these two tonight, but we have 30 plus colors hanging on the wall right now. So I recommend you check that out. I forgot to mention everything I'm showing you here tonight is available on the Fiber at 4 shopping category on the website. So you don't have to go looking through all the categories for these products. They are right there for your convenience. Okay, so let's talk super, super luxury now. So we just brought in this wonderful 100% Mongolian cashmere yarn. And I'm not sure exactly how to say the name correctly. I just call it UOLA plus LIA, which are the initials on there. This stuff is $44.99 per hank, and again, it is a fingering weight yarn, but it is 100% Mongolian cashmere. There are 430 yards in here. And what I think is really cool about this is the finishing process on this yarn is not 100% complete. And what I mean by that is they didn't do the final wash on the cashmere. The reason they did that is because it's a lot easier to work with in the more raw form, and I'm kind of hesitant to use the word raw because this is incredibly soft. So when you make your project and then you wash it and block it, that is the finishing part of the yarn. The yarn is going to soften up as it is washed and blocked. Again, don't put cashmere in the washing machine. This is definitely hand wash only, but I think this would make a super luxurious Hitafude cardigan. And the cashmere, I think because it is more solid, it's going to show that lace pattern really, really pretty. So I'd probably use the plum and wear like a white t-shirt underneath it so that lace work really, really pops. So again, that's $49.99 for 430 yards of fingering weight, 100% Mongolian cashmere. We've got 6 colors hanging on the wall, but I pulled 3 to show you guys tonight. So this is the plum. The plum is more on the burgundy-ish side of purple, so it's definitely a redder purple. And this is the color that I believe Gail's working with right now because she loves her blues. This is Zenith Blue. There we go. I'm catching a little bit of light from the skylight there. And if you prefer your neutrals, we have this wonderful charcoal gray. That's really, really pretty. We've got a couple more neutrals hanging on the wall. We also have a wonderful green. So this is just the tip of the iceberg. So these are 3 of the colors they have. And with 430 yards, you'd probably still need, for a size medium, 3 skeins. But again, check out this designer's patterns on Ravelry. Her stuff is absolutely amazing. And I'll go ahead and we will put her name in the chat line afterwards so that you can find the pattern a little bit easier. Okay, my last project for tonight. This is one of my favorites. You can find this pattern on both Ravelry and the Barocco website. This is one of my all-time favorite crochet patterns. This is the Cressida shawl, and this utilizes all sorts of stitches. There's plain double crochet, there's chaining, there's some shells and bobbles, and I love this scalloped edging. This was one of my all-time favorite projects to make for the shop, and this uses the Barocco Ultra Wool Fine. It took three skeins, and I remember making this. We have notes on the back from when I made it. Swatch strongly suggested. Yes, I still believe in that because I think I went up actually 2 hook sizes from what they recommended and I still wasn't making gauge. But that's okay. I just added a bunch of extra rows to get the width and length that we needed on that. And this is a very substantial shawl. It's really, really big, probably 3.5 feet at its deepest point, and I would guess about 6 feet wide. Because of the fiber content, this is definitely a wintertime shawl or the transitional period between summer and fall. And this uses the Ultra Wool Fine, which of course is fingering weight yarn. So this is the color we used for this guy. I want to say it's called Heather, but by now we figured out Barocco only puts the color numbers on the yarn bands and not the color names. So this is color 53153. And we have got 400 yards in a hank, and they are $14.99 per skein. Actually, these are skeins, not hanks. So that is the heather color that we used for the shawl that is hanging up in the shop. And I think too it would look really, really nice out of this teal color. This is color 53139. It's a lovely bluish teal, a little more blue than green on the teal of this yarn. That's just such a nice color. For some reason, ever since I started working at the yarn shop, I've found I am still in love with purple, that nothing is ever going to change that, but I really like the greens and teals. So this is a fantastic color. And if you prefer neutrals, this is color 53108, which is kind of a tannish gray. And I think this shawl would look stunning out of this nice neutral. So again, that is Ultra Wool Fine by Barocco. It is 100% superwash wool, so this can go in the washer, but again, lay flat to dry. 400 yards at $14.99 per skein. All right, so those are just some of our favorite Ravelry patterns. So, and you guys, you know what? I'm sorry, I should have said, you should feed into the chat line what Ravelry patterns you like, but even after we're done here, go ahead and feed more patterns into the chat line so we can kind of share with everyone what patterns we enjoy. So this is just the very, very tip of the iceberg of the patterns that we love here at the shop. And I have samples of all these guys here at the shop, so if you want to take a look at them, they're there for you to see, and they are also on our Ravelry site. All of our samples are up on our Ravelry page, so be sure to take a gander at that. And we're going to sign off for the night because supposedly tonight I do have a concert. I don't think they're canceling this one. So Longmont Concert Band, 6:30 Roosevelt Park. I would love it if you guys were there. So that is my shameless plug for this evening, and we are going to head out. I hope you guys have a lovely evening and enjoy your weekend, or what's remaining of your weekend. Bye.